There we go. All right, we're live and it's 1:33 p.m. I'll call the special board meeting together of North Whatcom Fire District 21 and District 4. This is the Regional Fire Authority Planning Committee meeting 10 as well. Since we have such a large group here today, we'll go ahead and start with a roll call. I'm Bruce Ansel, the chair of District 21.
We'll do District 21. Yeah. Go ahead.
Commissioner, District 21.
Harry Andrews, District 4 Commissioner.
Rich Boschman, Commissioner, District 21.
Dave Hanson, Commissioner, District 4, Board Chair.
Mark Land, Interim Commissioner for District 4.
Thank you. Rich and Joe.
Richard Davis, attorney for District 21.
Joe Quinn, attorney for District 4.
Chris and Scott.
Chris Parks, District Administrator, District 4.
Scott Brown, Unit North Whatcom Chairperson.
Okay. Sean and Kenneth.
North Whatcom.
At the same time. Sorry.
Perfect.
Okay. And then Chief.
Jason Vanderveen, Chief, North Whatcom Fire and Rescue.
Thank you. And my name is Karen Reed. I'm an independent facilitator that has been engaged to work with the parties. Okay, thank you. Let me just quickly review the agenda. It's pretty simple. We've limited today's agenda to trying to resolve the issues that District 4 has brought forward last week, and to, associated with that, determine if we are able to not only resolve those issues, but the parties desire to move forward beyond this point. Thank you to the members of the public listening in today. These joint planning committee meetings do not have a standing opportunity for public comment, but I would note that both agencies have an email link on their websites if the members of the public would like to submit comments or questions regarding the RFA. In addition to trying to focus on resolving these RFA issues today, I would mention that we do have an executive session on the agenda. We don't necessarily need to use that, but if we determine that we need to go into executive session to fully discuss or resolve any of the issues that are on the table today, we can do so, but it's not necessary that we will. Just to recap something I said last week, we have about 2 weeks to wrap up the proposed plan and develop a round of second outreach messages if we're going to stay on track for an August ballot. And beyond that, I would just note that if the parties are going to place a measure on the August ballot, you would need to be able to present a strong and united position in support of that measure to the communities that you serve. I'm going to stop there and see if we can maybe get the meeting summary approved from last time. It's in your packets. Bruce, do you want to handle that?
And we also have Heather Logan joining us. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. Thanks, Bruce. I'm Heather Logan. I'm a communications consultant.
Thank you. So we have review and approval of the meeting summary from the March 23rd meeting. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Updates is next.
Great. I don't know if there are any other than so I'll ask the chief if there's anything on the website. We'll hold the commissioner updates for last year.
No updates on the website. Election consultant, I have reached out to Chris Fawcett. Karen and Heather Logan and I got together with Chris Fawcett. I may have discussed that earlier, but we have a legal agreement we're going back and forth with, and we've arrived at a spot where we can utilize her.
Right. I suggested that she save her pennies and yours and not participate today in the event that the group decides not to proceed. Are there any updates from commissioners separate from the discussion we're having on our agenda later today?
I had a call from a citizen today, just trying to get some background information on what it means to form this RFA. I believe Commissioner Hanson referred her to me. She's actually a resident in District 4 and lives out on the North Shore Road. So we had about a half-hour conversation, and she just was concerned about the level of service and how that might be impacted with the RFA. I hope she's watching today. She said she may have had another commitment, but I invited her to watch this meeting today and said that her and her neighbors had been discussing what was going on, and she just wanted some answers. So, and I said that, you know, we do have a website and we do post updates and have all along. So just share that. We did have some contact from the outside world.
We also had Commissioner Andrews received a call today as well from a resident over off of the Kelly Road area. And again, addressing the same concerns, you know. It's nice that they're addressing the concerns. It means they care, and they're everybody sounds very supportive of the RFA. So that was good. I believe Commissioner Land may have had a call today as well, but I can't quote that for sure. So, but I did speak with the first lady that you mentioned, and again, we had about the same time. She spent about a half hour on the phone and asking really good questions, and sounds like they've got a group out there that's very supportive of the fire service. So that's really nice to know.
Anyone else have updates from any of the commissioners, that is? Okay. All right, so I think then we're just going to move on to agenda item 5, which is the RFA plan issues to be resolved per request of District 4 as conveyed to Chairman Ansel from Attorney Joe Quinn on March 23. I've simply listed those by the subject matter. It would be the HR director, the finance director, and the board composition going forward. And I've flagged that we need to also figure out if there are any other issues. It's my hope that we can do 4 things today. One is agree on whether and how these issues will be resolved. Second, identify whether there are any other major issues that have not been previously presented that need to be put on the table. Third, I'm hoping we can confirm whether you are comfortable collectively proceeding to continue the RFA work or whether you need additional time to make that decision. We don't have a lot of time, but you may hear additional information today that makes you want to have a little more time to go back and deliberate as separate boards. If we decide to make a decision to proceed today, we should also then discuss whether there are any conditions associated with your willingness to proceed. And specifically here, I am thinking about any additional due diligence commitments that you may need or want that would be helpful if we're going to move forward. If the decision is alternately to end the joint work, it's my hope we can clearly confirm that today as well. We do have a meeting on the calendar for this Thursday morning at 10 a.m. should you decide that you are willing and able to proceed. That would give you also at least a little time, either tomorrow or Wednesday, to have a special separate board meeting if you decide, based on things that have come up today, that you need to take a little bit more time to talk about where we are separate from this meeting. But hopefully we'll get some clarity again on, can these issues be resolved? Are there any other issues? Do you want to continue these discussions? And if you want to continue them, are there any conditions associated with that we should start working through?
Commissioner Land looks like has a question. Karen?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Thanks for that introduction. That helps kind of frame where we're at today, but I was wondering if it would be possible for me to see the email or the letter that was sent that's referred to on the agenda. I guess if it was sent on behalf of the board I represent, I'd kind of like to see it for myself. Does somebody have that where they could
Chris
send
has, that was sent through Joe Quinn, and Chris has that. You should have had that.
I don't.
That's the letter that went through Joe Quinn.
So I don't have it. Would it be possible to?
Chris, can you
just
send
have-
it? Do you have
Chris
it,
is
Chris?
right there.
Chris, do you have the email?
Yes, I do have it. I can share it with him.
Thank you. Can you do that now?
Right now?
Yes.
I just want to read it. I just would like to read it real quick to see what it
Okay,
says.
I have to go look for it.
Do you need us to stand and wait for a minute here while you get a chance to look at that?
No, not at all. I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
One
you
of the
fine.
few.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so Mark's going to take a look at that. Are there any other questions about
well-
what we're about to launch into, Bruce?
Well, this is a little bit concerning to me that Mark hasn't seen this communication. I know
Me
that
too.
the D4 board met, had a special meeting. They directed Mr. Quinn to respond in writing to us, and it just seems a little strange, perhaps, that one of their board members hasn't seen it, which then would
I want to,
kinda
let me
lead
step in. I think what Mark is doing is he's confusing. He thinks there was a letter sent. It was an email sent to Chief Vanderveen from Attorney Quinn. There was no letter.
Yeah,
And I
so
think
you were
he's
able-
confused on that.
Chris, were you able to find the email and forward it?
No, not yet.
I've sent it to Commissioner Land.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks.
reading.
Oh, you did? Okay, thank you. Then I don't need to look.
You're reading it now, Mark?
I am reading it now. Yeah.
You are off camera in case you want to come back and join us at some point.
Sorry, I was reading it. I didn't want you to see a close-up of my face as I was reading it.
No worries.
Zoom isn't always pretty.
Okay, so again, we have a potential executive session on the calendar and today, and if at any time you think we need to discuss the performance of a public employee, we will adjourn into executive session. And I'd ask everybody, why has my video died here? Thank you. I would ask everybody to be very cautious about what they say about individual employees so long as we are not in executive session. And I would ask legal counsel, Mr. Davis and Mr. Quinn, to speak up if you feel like we are heading into territory that would be better addressed in an executive session, and anyone else can do so as well. I think it may make sense for District 4 to begin this discussion since they have placed these issues on the table, and I would ask the District 4 commissioners who might serve as your spokesperson today to begin the discussion. I think it would be helpful if you could at least briefly give a recap on your concerns at this point, and just sort of summarize those for the group and the benefit of anyone that may be watching. Who would like to speak?
I'm going to go ahead and start out. And I had thought we'd made it clear that we'd taken a couple of the concerns off of the table. They, after having a little bit of time to look at how we maybe preference the concerns, and that was into the position of filling positions on the organizational structure for the RFA, and probably wrong kind of terminology on our side with names. We have our board has taken a stance. We are not requesting anybody fill any position by name. What we are requesting is that the sensitive positions such as a very high risk position, HR manager. If they hire an HR manager, I know we have an HR assistant right now, but if they fill that with an HR manager, or the position of, in the event that the current person handling the finances, if they were to retire out, that we'd like to know that that position is also filled using a job description matching the position and the educational requirements of the positions, as well as a hiring process that is fair and equal to all. And that's really all we asked. Nothing more, nothing less than that. We believe it's the chief's job to fill his staff positions. We were looking at it somewhat differently when people were transferring over to the RFA, and it was a bad assumption, I guess, on my part and maybe our board's part, that automatically kind of the next person with that background doing that type of work for one of the districts, if there was an opening, they would automatically get to fill that position. We've learned different. We've been educated by our attorney, Mr. Quinn, as well as excellent talks. And once again, we give a lot of credit to Ken Cunningham and his patience, his willingness to work through with us on the issues. And we had explained this to Ken the other day clearly as too, and he had stated he had notified Commissioner Ansel of that conversation and Chief Vanderveen of that conversation. So Harry, would you like to state anything on that topic before we get into the other one?
No, I think one comment I just like to make, that I want the public to know that District 4 is all for an RFA.
100%.
I can speak for the rest of my commissioners.
Commissioner Land, you're muted.
Yeah, there I am. Yeah, appreciate what Harry and Dave just said. And again, new guy, I don't think I've been doing this for 2 weeks. I almost view myself as like a I don't know, a citizen, impartial citizen member of this process, because I've just come in. I don't really feel like I'm tied to the hip with the board for District 4. I don't really feel like I'm tied to the hip for 21. I'm looking at this with a fresh pair of eyes, you know, which is kind of why I have just some questions, and maybe they've already been asked and answered months ago. So forgive me if I'm bringing up stuff that you guys have already hashed out. But I do want to share a couple of things that's already been said, and so you can hear it out of my mouth. Yes, I am absolutely for the RFA. I believe, if nothing else, government redundancy, it really bugs me. So if we can eliminate a layer of bureaucracy, you know, I'm all for it. Somebody just called me the other day who was involved in this process and interested in it, and they made one comment that, however, I absolutely disagree with. They said to me that somebody in my position, and I would say everybody on each other's boards, on the board positions, we should just be able to tell the voters what's best for them. I couldn't disagree more with that statement. I could go on for 2 hours how that is not the way I approach public policy. Yesterday, I spent 4 hours going through rewatching the meeting that you all watched back on March 9th. Jason was kind enough to find a recording of that, got it to me, and I was able to watch that. So I was able to see his presentation, Bill's presentation. That was very helpful for me. But what it illustrated to me was kind of going back to my question I raised at the last RFA meeting, was how can I, with a straight face, explain to the District 4 customers this is the best bang for their buck? So that's all I've ever been after. And if the RFA is the best thing since sliced bread, I would think that those kind of answers and explanation would be pretty easy to find. So anyway, I just wanted to share that, where I'm coming from. Yeah, I still have lots of questions, but I definitely want to find a way to make it work.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so I think what our board is looking for is, and that'll just would be part of the process, is just to know that we all are in agreement on, filling of any positions. And we've always said, with the exception of the administrative assistant to the chief, that's a position that's there, and that needs to, that's not one of the positions we even have an interest in. But the crucial positions that deal with a lot of legality and liability, we'd just like to know there's written job descriptions for those. I think everybody, I know District 21 uses job descriptions to do their hiring and their processes, as well as not just knowing that there's a job description, but that there is a process in place for that, for the hiring process of how the chief, it's the chief's decision. And we want to state that again. We realize it's the chief's decision on who he selects. People have, and we probably misinterpreted or led that. And we want to make sure that everyone knows that we understand that. We have a lot of respect for Chief Vanderveen, and we're going to stand by that. The next topic, go ahead.
Can I ask for some clarification on, you said that, job description, it's the chief's decision, but there's some sort of process. Can you outline what you think that process is?
No, we said the selection is the chief's decision. When he said that they were going to go out for interviews, and in your policies, as we go through your policies, a lot of those have, where it would be opened up. What brought all of this to the attention is Chief Vanderveen shared with us that he would be going out for application process if there was an opening in the finance management or manager's position, and that was if the person that's currently handling that were to retire out, which you and Chief Vanderveen had led me to believe. And so with that said, when we're talking about they're going out for an interview process, at one time we thought, boy, as commissioners, we'll sit on and get 2 commissioners from your group and 2 from our group. Bad idea, wrong idea. That's governance getting into management. And, we were hiring a chief, maybe that would be the way we would do it. But sure, and that was where we just went a little tilt. Dave was not understanding how that person came over. So we understand we would like to see an outside assessment center if he's going to go out to hire for those positions. But as well as a clarification on the job description, we would want the job descriptions that both boards would agree upon to what the job description details and the requirements for education and background is. Again, those are being a corporate risk loss manager, owner of 2 companies that manage risk management for companies. Those are 2 of the higher risk category positions in any company.
So Dave, let me just follow up on Bruce's question here. Am I hearing that it is the chief's decision? Your commissioners do not need to be on the hiring panel.
Nope.
It doesn't need
clear that up 5 days ago.
However, you are saying that the board would need to approve the job description and a set of educational requirements for both positions, Is that correct? And that you would also require the use of an outside assessment center.
Yes, and that could be the RFA board could approve that. That position either of those positions may not be filled until the RFA, because that's where the new and it could be the exact same people, but that's where they would, that would be the group that, where they would go to work. They would work for the RFA. So those positions wouldn't even be available until then. So maybe it's the RFA board approves the written job description at that time.
So now you've raised another question for me. I mean, the agencies, when you do the RFA, you merge, the existing people come across and there's a position identified for everyone. So it is not assumed that you are going to be rehiring for any or all positions. Are you asking for that to occur?
We're not, no, no, we're not. We're just asking that for the people, for the positions, because we've been told nobody goes over automatically to a job. Everybody's guaranteed they come over, not into any set job. That'll be the chief's decision to make those selections and place people where he wants. That's my thought anyway. And I'm not sure how Commissioner Ansel or the other commissioners feel on this, but once the chief that makes his selection, but it's just important he makes those selections based on hiring qualified people for the position. And that's the important thing to us. It could be 2 people from brand new people, or it could be, 2 or 3 or how many positions. Maybe they're all right here in house and they're all capable. That's going to be the chief. I would think that would be the chief's decision.
So so I'm still confused. Maybe I'm the only one on this call that's confused about this, but it still sounds to me like you are suggesting that the chief needs to go through a job description and educational requirements definition for every position on the organizational chart, and then select somebody through a process to meet those conditions.
No, we only named 2 positions, I thought.
So you want them to go through a rehiring process. This is the part I didn't hear you.
No, I think who are you talking about? I mean, if you're talking about somebody in particular, we're not saying go through. What we'd like the chief to do is, and I think he may have these, develop the job procedures, put the qualifications to those procedures, and then if he has an in-house candidate that meets that, then I wouldn't see why he would want to go outside for open it up. He has stated though that's what he would do with the finance one, so I would assume that's what he would probably be doing with his with the HR one. But maybe the people are right here, and maybe they have all the qualifications. And why would you go out and look for somebody then?
Commissioner Hanson, if I could just real quick.
Sure.
I think what Commissioner Hanson is saying is that he just wants the job descriptions to be reviewed, go before the board, which is current policy. I've actually learned recently what happens when you don't do that, and I had to amend a process. So it is all of our policies, all of our job descriptions do need to be updated. They are severely outdated, and it is, as a matter of fact, it's now become my personal policy that any job description that's hired will go for a review to legal and the board, so that they know what I'm doing. It is defensible. So when they get a call from a citizen, hey, I heard you hired the chief's son to be the finance director, they can respond to that. That's defensible. That's currently what we're doing. And as far as things like assessment centers, it depends. I mean, entry-level firefighter, it's a 3-step process to get hired. Certainly someone coming in for a vacancy, when there's a vacancy, say in the finance manager's position, we're going to have a process that goes more than just meet with me at a coffee shop and then you get the job. This is a public job. It's going to be transparent. It's going to be open. And so does that am I reaffirming kind of what you're trying to say here, Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you very much. Yes, that's exactly what we're looking for. And we were aware of the policy of that it would be approved. So yes, thank you for clarifying that. Hope that helps, Karen.
I'm still confused.
Okay.
Is the question of whether you are assuming or requesting that there be a vacancy in the HR position and the finance director position?
Not at all.
So
Not at all.
Because if Jason is bringing forward job descriptions and job qualifications and they must be approved by the RFA board, then if the RFA board says we would like more job qualifications than the person currently in that position, that may be fine going forward. Or is your contention that if that job description involves that the job is filled, you bring forward a job description, as approved, it includes requirements that are in excess of those held by the current person sitting in that job? What happens to the person sitting in that job?
I wasn't aware that we had an HR manager. We have an HR assistant, and when we go to an organization of this size, we would definitely need to go to an HR manager. And HR assistant.
So if it's a new position,
needed just as much still.
If it's a new position, I understand that
that would be a new position.
Okay, but what about what about the finance manager? That there's somebody sitting in that job now. If they are still here on
they got their job.
1st,
yeah, they would have their job.
Commissioner Hanson, you're talking about only in the case of a vacancy or the creation of a new position.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
That's what I was looking for. I'm just writing that down. Vacancy. Okay, sorry to belabor that if I'm the only one that didn't get it. Does anyone else have any other questions about what District 4 is proposing with respect to HR issues, employee issues?
I understand as it sits now. I think the reason it's on the agenda is because the last official written communication that we had was that there wanted to be a board of 2 of theirs and 2 of ours and a neutral chosen party, and we're done with that, correct?
Bad idea. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
We've realized that was not the direction that we wanted to go into.
Mark?
Yeah, and just to respond to that, just out of my own mouth, when I had my first board meeting with the other 2 commissioners, my input on that was I simply was wanting to open the discussion to see if it made sense that whatever process we had was it was open, transparent, and competitive, so that we were just involved in current contemporary professional HR practices. That's kind of where I was coming from. Some of the details that we're going back and forth on, that I would rely on the chief and our hired professional staff to deal with all that. My guidelines, as I continue to sit at this table, it's competitive, it's impartial, it's professional. That's really all.
That's our stance. Thank you, Mark.
Other questions about the HR proposal that's on the table?
I don't know that we call it HR proposal. I call it staffing proposal.
Okay, staffing proposal.
You're trying to seem like you're targeting a job.
That's fine. Okay. Do you want to continue and present your other issues?
Yeah. So the next topic, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Commissioner Land, since Commissioner Land and Commissioner Andrews are our main representatives of the RFA board. And Commissioner Land, you're muted again. Would you mind discussing the next topic?
I think I've just been voluntold. So I'm talking about the the makeup of the RFA board?
That's right.
Okay, well,
If you're comfortable with that. If not, we can go ahead and take that.
no, sure. I mean, I'll just, it's again, it's just more of a question or questions, I guess, than anything else. As I look at, you know, the marriage of these two districts, and then how it would be, it would become the RFA governance. What struck me was that at the very beginning, there was going to be a 5-member representative board from 21 and a 3-member representative board from 4. So I posed the question for discussion, you know, and again, if it's been asked and answered, please tell me. But it seemed to me that if we're forming a new entity, why would we not have equality in representation of the decision makers? What was the thought that there wouldn't be equal voices at the table? So maybe it's more of a question than anything else.
Well, I think the answer is it was discussed and answered in the belief of District 21 in previous meetings where governance was a topic. And again, you're new to this, and so, you know, we're at the 11th hour and we're trying to, no offense, educate you on topics that we have already covered. And it's frustrating, I guess, from our board's point of view that we have to go back and revisit a topic that we had already agreed upon, which wasn't our thought at the beginning, and how we discussed it was we bring everyone across, all our 5, all your 3. We know that there's going to be some upcoming elections. We know that some people have expressed a desire not to be a commissioner or on the board in the future. And so we set the threshold at 5 members to be elected by the public at the first available election to do so with staggered terms, 2, 4, and 6-year terms. So to get the ball rolling, yes, we've got 8. Who do you vote off the island would be a tough question to start with. And so either through attrition or not choosing to run or whatever, those commissioners would drop off, and it could be a District 4 and it could be a District 21, but never go below 5. And that would only last for the brief period, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll defer to either one of the attorneys, that by statute, if we were to form this RFA effective January of 2022, then the election would be held in November of 2022 for the following year, and all 5 positions would be up for election. So we could have 5 brand new people that aren't even sitting in this meeting here. Is that correct, or am I wrong there?
No, I think you're correct.
The timing's a little different than what you outlined in terms of the new board. If the RFA, if it is approved by the voters after an election this August, would be effective this coming October. And then to the extent that any of the commissioners are running for office in November, they would be serving on the RFA transition board, the permanent 5-member at-large board. Those seats would be up on the November 2023 ballot, and those terms for the directly elected 5 commissioners at large positions for the permanent board. As Bruce said, they are staggered, but those folks would be elected in November of 2023, and their terms would begin in January of 2024.
That's correct.
Is it the election in 2023 just because that's when board commissioners are on the normal ballots?
Yes.
There isn't an opportunity in 2022?
No.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So odd years.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rich, did you want to enter?
I was just saying that commissioners come up in odd years then.
Yeah. So I think where our concern is that and we have no objection to going to the 5 and 3 if there's some provisions made to that. But our concern is that, and I'm sure there's a little bit of territorial area concern that we'll learn to get over as we become an RFA and we realize that a commissioner sitting on the north shore of Lake Whatcom is now a commissioner making decisions for the Birch Bay and the Blaine area and Laurel area as well. We're all a team, and that will grow together. Our position, I think, from our board is that to come into this with the first 2 years where there's a 5-member board that's coming in from District 21. Basically, District 21 would have the ability to make all of the decisions for our community members, for our taxpaying citizens that are here, and they're our #1 priority. Regardless if we did go to the RFA or we don't go to an RFA, they're going to always be our #1 priority at first, and then as we grow together, we'll all blend. But and so on that note, there is an option. We don't want to see anybody step off the board just because District 4 wants 3 and 3 commissioners. And it's just not practical. What we would rather propose is that something along these lines, and I'm going to read it so I get it right. And this is what has taken place in other jurisdictions, I believe. But it would be basically a plan. The plan could include a provision requiring any resolution or motion of the RFA board shall require at least 1 vote cast by the members of each former district board. So if there's only myself and Mark here, and your board votes, 5 to 3, or you all vote for some motion or resolution, it would require at least one of the District 4 commissioners also vote to approve that resolution or motion, which is probably I doubt very often we're not going to all agree on something. We tend to when we get down to it, but that would just be a way of ensuring our citizens, and that would kind of, it's almost like the filibuster in the Senate type of deal, but that would go away. Basically, the provision would sunset itself when the plan comes down to 5 members anyway. So eventually that would go away, but that would keep us on the same path, the same board structure. All we do is all just agree to with that provision, and I think then we can, with an honest face, look at our citizens of Whatcom County Fire District 4 and hold our head high and be able to tell them, this is going to be a good deal. We're all coming together, and it's going to be a kind of a slow mend on our policies and procedures. But quite honestly, I think we know who has the policies and the procedures in place for the most part, and that's District 21. You have quite a wide array of policies and procedures, and that's great. So probably more so is going to be adopting them. And a lot of this stems from Karen had put out a draft plan, and that kind of triggered this portion because it kind of stated how all the policies and procedures would be adopted over. And, you know, I think all the policies and procedures shouldn't just be adopted over. I think policies and procedures with a new company or new organization need to be reviewed by the new board and approved together. And we just, because again, as the commissioners for District 4, the representatives to our taxpayers, we have a responsibility to ensure that the policies and procedures that have been put in place in North Wacom, District 21, are fitting for our area and for our community as well. So that's kind of our note there. I don't know, Mark or Harry, if you have anything to add.
No, I mean, yeah, that was, I think what it gets down to again is, I'm just wondering if the District 21 commissioners would not be in favor of that. I guess I'm wondering, why would equal voices at the table, equal representation, why would that create anxiety for you?
A trust issue, to be honest.
Yeah, we know how that goes.
We're sounding like we're drawing a line here and saying that there's this border, and the former District 21 members only care about the District 21 constituents, and I think that is totally wrong. I spent a half hour on the phone with one of District 4's constituents today, reassuring her that our goal is to form this RFA so that she can have service to the brand new house she's building out there on Lake Whatcom. I guess mildly offended that you think we're going to be making decisions that aren't in the best interest of every member of the community. So,
well, let me stop you there, though. You have there's past history here, Bruce, and I can go right back to February of my first year in last year. There have been trust issues, and you have procedures, but they're not always followed. And we can cite as many cases as that we've all discussed before, and it's important for us to know that we are not stepping into a larger issue by adopting the way that you guys have always done your business. And believe me, we're just as guilty at District 4 too. It's how we've done things. And that's why I think it will be great holding us together and looking out for our citizens as a whole and as one large community. But I think that's going to take a little bit of time and trust building to do that. And so there have been trust issues. And that's with any kind of big businesses. When you're merging them, there's growing pains, and there's going to be some, and we accept that. But again, I've got to be able to hold my head high when we go out to our community members and let them know that this is a good thing. We firmly believe this RFA needs to happen. We fully support the international, the local, and the rank and file. This is a governance issue, not whether we support them or not. So that's kind of where we're at. And we'd sure find it, call it a sad day if you guys were willing to say we don't want to do the RFA because we don't like that you guys want to have even representation to our communities. So I guess that's our question is, we're all for even representation, and we're all for letting the chief do his job and his management team. And so on that note, we'd like you guys, and we expect you may want to talk about it a little further, but you might want to look at our kind of our request, our proposal, and again that would be that you would have a 5-member board, just as you do. We'd have the 3-member. It would shrink as it's designed to do down to a 5. Currently in that position, though, to keep a checks and balance is either to pass a resolution or a motion would at least take one representative from one of the districts. So it could be all District 3 and one representative from your group, or all District 21. I'm saying District 3, I'm sorry, District 4. Or all the 5 representatives from your group and 1 member from the, and they would have to been it wouldn't be a newly elected in commissioner. It would had to been a commissioner sitting during the planning group.
Chief, I saw you raise your hand there.
Yeah, I may be 4 minutes too late. But I just wanted to remind everybody before we start digging up the past or throwing stones, that these 2 agencies have 10 years experience of working together. And your employees, your firefighters, starting with the chief on down, we don't see districts. We see citizens who call us for help.
That's right.
And it doesn't, to us, District 4, District 21, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So when I understand that at the higher level, as I gain more experience in the chief world, at the higher level of politics, things, the view changes, and absolutely, elected officials have to do their due diligence and make sure that, legally, contractually, everything is done correctly. But when the tones go off, which is what we're here for, when a citizen calls for help, and when rigs start rolling, there's no district. It's just someone calling for help. This weekend, our units responded to another fire district that called for help, and there's no delay. And many of you have been in the fire service and you know how this works. And I'm not trying to lecture anybody. I just want us to remember to keep our eyes on the prize and what we're doing here, which is trying to keep. And this is my opinion as the chief, having looked at some of the numbers that came out from Mr. Cushman today, trying to keep the level of service in District 4 what it is today, the same as the North Whatcom Board has supported, and the District 4 Board together over the last 10 years working together have brought that level of service to where it is today. How can we keep that moving forward?
I think it's actually very doable, but
exactly.
We don't want to do that. We do not want to do that, and
we
that's
have this vessel here today. We have a vessel here today, and I think we just got to get. Karen talked to maybe we need to retreat to our corners or whatever the word is, but
yeah,
whether we need to have a quick huddle on each side, but yeah, I think we need to. Let's keep the main thing, which is service delivery to the public in a fair, equitable, and legal way.
That's right. And now that's why I did state, and I hope you did hear me state, there's a difference between governance and what you folks do. And this is our concern is at a governance level. Nobody questions what you do each and every day, and your frontline folks, and nobody questions the job they do. They're tremendous. The community. And I've been in the fire service for 30 years, as you know, as well, from volunteer ranks to career position in the oil and gas industry, and in 12 years of governance with another fire district. Matter of fact, we formed South Whatcom Fire and Rescue. I was on that group. And clearly, nobody cares. People just want to know when they call 911 that they're going to get that same quality service that they get each and every day as of right now.
And they don't want a chief or a commissioner.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Right. But when I did have the conversation with the same lady that Commissioner Ansel spoke with today, she was worried. She lives at the end of North Shore Road, and until they saw that Station 11, Agate Bay, went for sale, they had no idea that was not an active station. They said there was a fire engine in there, And then the community all started talking out there. And that was a concern when I came on board is, for how many years with the District 21 board operating and running, overseeing our operations, how did we ever get to that extent? And those are concerns. And you know what? We're getting through those concerns. We still got a station over on Smith Road that we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with. And it takes money, it takes funding, and as we've learned through this process, we've been remiss by not going out for money much sooner and asking our citizens for help, because now we're in a kind of a deep pocket. And so I agree. We just want to keep things so we can go out, sell this RFA to our citizens as it is a good deal. We just do not want there to be any concerns on the table or in the back of our minds that are we doing the right thing? Is this the right partner for us? And we think it is. District 21, and especially on your operations level, has done a fantastic job. And it'd be hard to find any better. So that's where we stand. I don't know if Mark or Harry want to add anything in. We certainly hope that District 21 will take serious consideration. It would be very sad to have them come back and state that we're not going to go forward with this RFA due to the fact that you guys want to have control, and we'd rather have equal footage, equal
Can I just, Dave, I just think that I want to caution y'all on a couple of points. First, both sides have been at the table for 8 months now, and until these issues came up last week, I thought there was reason to believe that both sides were in support of the RFA. So I don't think it would be fair to characterize either side at this particular point as not being in support. And I think that when you use words like equal, you need to be careful. I think that there are multiple perspectives on equality, with the fact that District 21 represents 3.5 times as many people as District 4. So I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate that we should talk this through, and I think that the group is able to make a decision on how they want to go. There are a couple legal issues I would, or at least one legal issue about a quorum that I would raise in association with this, but I appreciate you clarifying that you're not trying to restructure the transition board. That was what I think was the takeaway from the email from Mr. Quinn. And then I'm hearing you now saying that any action by the transition board, that your proposal is that any action by the transition board would require at least one vote in support from members of District 21 and the District 4 board. And then, but you also went on to say that the person voting.
I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's correct. We're talking about upon the formation of the RFA board.
Right, that's the transition board.
Transition.
The transition board is the interim board. We call it the interim board.
Okay.
The interim board. So, but then you went on and you said at one point, I want to get some clarification that the one person that from District 4 would have to be a quote unquote old commissioner.
Yeah, they would have had to have been a sitting commissioner when we go to ballot, when this goes to formation.
And I guess that raises some concerns for me, because it makes your board of commissioners very not equal, even amongst the 3 of you or the 5 of them. I think that might be tough to explain. And it also increases the likelihood that she would be giving veto power to a single individual on decisions moving forward. And I usually strongly caution groups against ever getting into a position where you have one person could have veto power. It's a policy matter. You could do it, I believe, legally if you want.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think the legal question that I would also raise is we would probably need to have some caveat about securing a quorum, because I think that you would have a quorum at 5 unless you defined it differently. And if the District 4, I mean, I've seen this happen where one side is in the minority and they just don't show up to any meetings and no business can take place. We would need some assurances to work around that kind of a situation, which can be done. But I just want to confirm that, so you want it to be an old commissioner, one from both boards, and
Well, I think our true stance is that we'd rather see 3 and 3, you know, with voting authority, and then you know, the other, maybe the other 2 commissioners, whoever, wouldn't have voting authority. So we'd rather see equal representation. That kind of takes away that 8, gets rid of that 8-person board at first. So it kind of, it throws a little bit of a wrench in that. So if we were to say we want to go to a 3 members from each board would make up the interim board.
but you have have you not taken that off the table? Is that an alternate solution, or?
No, that was our priority. That was what we wanted to propose.
But we've heard you propose something different today, I thought, Dave. Is that?
That was option 2, and I apologize. That was, we didn't feel that if we'd heard that District 21 was not open to the 3 and 3. We haven't asked them point blank. I guess we should have asked them straightforward. If they would be open to that, we are much more amenable to that.
Okay, so you are positing there are potentially 2 ways of addressing your concerns then.
Yes.
So that original approach that we had understood from the communication from Mr. Quayle.
And we would be open to hearing any other suggestions that maybe bring out the same resolve. You know, and Commissioner Ansel always seems to have, you know, good thoughts and good suggestions, and maybe their board has another way that we can resolve this together, that makes everybody happy during that transitioning period. But if not, then that's, I guess, how it is.
Right. And speaking of that, of course, obviously, it would be lovely if we do that, if we could reach agreement and everybody can move forward and everybody feels comfortable with it. Yeah. I think I would, again, caution folks, I don't think it's really accurate to say that somebody else blew up the deal because the other side because they wouldn't agree to conditions placed on the table. It takes 2 to tango.
All we asked is that they didn't, all we were stating though is we either agree to equal representation. If somebody backs out, because if we said, no, we don't agree to equal representation, that's why we would be backing out.
Well,
that's not a condition.
Agreed to a different structure. So I'm just like,
no, we haven't.
It's a little more complicated than just saying, if you don't agree to everything I'm asking for, you are breaking this. That is not, I don't think that's a fair way of characterizing the discussion.
I understand. I think that's fair.
Can I make a comment?
Of course, go ahead, Harry.
Bruce, I want you to know that I don't have any trust issue with you at all. And I wondered if you possibly maybe could think this through a little bit and come to the table with an idea that we can go to our voters and say, yes, we do have some control. That's all. And this is a short term. And at the end of that short term, we're going to be out for elections anyhow. So, you know, it's coming down the road that'll work out just fine. That's all I have.
Yeah, me too. Just me too. To the other board members, I mean, I don't have any trust issues either, and I certainly hope you don't have any trust issues with me, but the argument pertaining to that still seems that it could almost be made both ways, that if there are whatever past baggage individual board members are bringing to the table, regardless of that, or if you don't have any, having the same number of votes from both boards creating this new interim entity still seems to kind of address both of those arguments. I don't know, that's my 2 cents.
You know, and Commissioner Ansel, I do have to take back. Commissioner Ansel has been working with me and Chief Vanderveen and I, we've all been meeting. I think we met 2 or 3 times. My trust isn't with Commissioner Ansel. It's my concerns are the past, not the future. The future is, I believe strongly, we can go forward together as a strong team. Yeah, I know you got your thoughts, Bruce, and I see you here on camera, but I think we've done quite well over the last 3-4 months. And again, I just have concerns with how things in the past were done, and those are hard to get over.
I have a question for Commissioner Land, based on something you said earlier about do we need to explore the finances of other structures more in depth, or can we proceed? And I have some concern about that, because we sort of prima facie an integrated district, 2 small districts is more efficient than 2 small districts operating side by side with duplicate governance and duplicative administrative structures. And I think that was the basis on which you have been doing a unified integrated operation for the last 10 years. And then, as you noted, the further efficiency moving forward, if you proceed to an RFA, is to streamline the governance structure from the get-go. There's other benefits from the RFA as well, but in terms of just that sort of prima facie look at those basic options, we do not have a separate standalone financial model for the 2 districts. It's sort of self-evident that would be more expensive on both sides if you're trying to maintain the same level of service. So I don't want to get into a position where, and I appreciate that you are in an awkward spot being the newcomer, but we do not have the runway to go do that really before we ever got to the table financial analysis at this late date. So my question to you is that something that is going to prevent you from proceeding? I mean, knowing what you know about the basics of trying to put together a government operation from your time at the utility district, you can anticipate if you were trying to do 2 separate standalone operations side by side, it's going to be more than having an integrated operation. Are you sufficiently comfortable that you can proceed, or is there additional data or that we can talk to you offline about? I just want to know if we are in a no-go position with you because you don't have data that you need about that concept of the RFA, which I appreciate that you said you support.
Yeah, so the heart of that issue for me was I wanted to be able to, if I saw somebody on the Britton Road, saw somebody on North Shore, Emerald Lake, wherever, if they waved me over and were asking me questions about the options, I wanted to be able to explain to them that, listen, at this particular levy rate that's inevitably going to increase, this is the level of service that you would have been provided if District 4 remained District 4. At this other levy rate, as an RFA, this is what you're getting from the regional authority. And this is the level of service you can expect. That was where I wanted to go with that, was simply be able to have the information so I could articulate to people, because right now I'm responsible to the voters in District 4. I wanted to be able to explain to them clearly and convincingly the pros and cons of each option. Everything that I've seen so far, to answer your question, is no, it's not a go, no go deal breaker for me where we're at now. It was simply an attempt to get information so that I was more educated and could articulately explain the pros and cons of going to the RFA and not. Just because I'm asking these questions doesn't mean I'm questioning the value of the RFA. It's just, I just need to know so that I can fulfill my responsibility.
so am I hearing that you don't need, because we do not have standalone models developed because nobody's been operating that way for 10 years.
Yeah.
We have not done that work. That would be several weeks of work that you would need to, it would basically be pre-decision to even come to the table here. You would have done that kind of exploration if that was deemed really a factual question. So, or is it more like RFA versus continued joint operations? Although I'm not even sure if that's on the table now. I'm just.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's been, I'm past that. I'm happy with the spreadsheets that I've been provided. We even got some additional information today. So if I've got some clarifying questions about the details, you know, I can probably go to the chief. I can probably go to Chris, and they can walk me through it. They can educate me. They can help analyze what all this information means so that I can then turn around and put it in my good public policy template and, you know, spit out an opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm hearing you, and I really, again, I appreciate you are in a tough spot having come on so late in the game, and I appreciate you're trying to do your homework here as a new commissioner. There are some things we can do and some things we will not have the capacity to do here moving if we decide to move forward. So I guess at this point I would ask if anybody on the District 21 side has further questions about what is on the table that they want to ask of any of the District 4 representatives. And then I would ask if the attorneys want to make a comment about anything they've heard. Although we've lost Joe. I think he had a medical
he said he had another
appointment.
appointment at 2:40.
Yeah.
To leave for.
So let's just start with the District 21 folks. Do you have any more clarifying questions for Dave or Harry or Mark?
Well, I'm seeming to be the one that gets to always speak first for the board, so I will try once. Again, here we are at the 11th hour, and we're reconfiguring our governance model that we agreed to a long time ago. And what bothers me about this has happened more than once, is we thought we'd had an agreement. We carried out a meeting, we'd agreed to the meeting record and minutes, and then a question comes up that is contradictory to what we had talked about on the planning committee. And so then it's like one step forward, two steps back, and we pause. I mean, this last week has been amazingly time consuming, trying to figure out what the requests have been and the impacts they're going to have, and the staff time and the consulting time. It has pretty much prevented our chief from being a fire chief, and he's become an RFA administrator. And when does it end? When do we not have to worry that, okay, today we decided that having veto power is okay, and we move forward to the next meeting and it's something else outside of what we had talked about in the planning committee. So it is a trust issue, and I don't know how we get over that when it continues to happen. And it's frustrating. So a simple example for me that just sticks in my head of veto power. There's a decision that we need to build or remodel a fire station in Birch Bay or Blaine, and a standing member on District 4's board goes, well, that's not going to help north or the Lake Whatcom area. I don't like that idea. So now what would have enhanced the overall operation of the fire service as identified in our master plan can be vetoed because it's perceived that it doesn't help the person at the end of North Lake Road. So again, it's a trust thing. And that may be an extreme example, but that scares me.
I don't think that's an extreme example. I think that was a fair example, and I understand your concern there. That option was given to us by our attorney this morning, and I'm not sure if he and Rich, I know he and Rich Davis have been talking. I don't know where that came from. That was an option that was presented to us. And I've had very, very little time to look at it. So I can see Karen made some really good points on that note. And I understand where you're coming from too, Commissioner Enzel. But it could be said the other way is the 3 representatives from which will be the former District 4 board, we'd hope, could also decide we feel we need a station at the end of North Shore Drive, and your board could vote 5 to overrule that decision just as easily, just by 1 additional vote. So you'd have 4 to 3 if you want, if it may. So I think that's where our trust, and that's where we have to rely on as a board. We have never outvoted each other on the District 4 board since I've been here. It's either been all in or all out. I think your board has also done the same. And we tend to find when we come together as a whole and we work together as a team that's how business will be done. It usually just works well that way, and we get educated together. I want to come back though to your point that we made changes. I was on a regional fire authority planning committee in the past, and there's nothing here that surprises. Things came up, especially when we got down to the nitty and gritty on signing off on that plan. Once we approve this plan, the plan's in place. It can't be changed, but we haven't voted on the plan yet. I think we're very, very close to being there right now. And I would see this as the only concern that our board really brings to the table. And why do they come up? Because Karen Reed put out a draft plan. And as we started reading that draft plan, we read language in there that concerned us, and that had never been discussed or talked about. It was just put in there on policies and procedures. It's all transferring over. I'm used to the board. A board would approve, and since we're going to be a new organization, we would approve and review all of the policies and procedures. As Chief Vanderveen said clearly, as I reviewed many of your policies and procedures, many of them have not been updated in a long time. But they're way better than what we have. So who's to complain? It just seems like it'd be a perfect opportunity to do so.
So Dave, just for clarification, obviously, you have seen and signed off on sections 1 through 5 of the plan, and that draft went to your lawyers respectively to go forward to you as a discussion draft for chapters 6, 7, and 8. It was not a recommendation. It was not a decision. It was, if it ever, we have not had review by Joe, so we haven't been able to bring it forward. And obviously, we're waiting to see if we can get past these issues. I appreciate that looking at that draft may have raised some concerns for you, and certainly I'd rather get those concerns out now rather than later. But I don't want anyone to think that somehow the rest of the plan had been drafted and decided without this committee's input. Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to address Bruce's scenario there, and this is where, Dave, I might be breaking from you here a little bit, but in Bruce's scenario, okay, so right now I have a District 4 commissioner hat on. The scenario you just proposed, Bruce, would be during either it would be during the transition or the new RFA board. At that point, I'm an RFA commissioner if I'm
That's right.
still doing this. I guess that remains to be seen. But so it wouldn't be a, I don't agree with your premise, because I would be, if I was on that committee or on that board, I would be wanting to make a decision that would be best for the entire region at that point. And it wouldn't be District 4 accountability. I would be, regional accountability. So if that's what the chief recommended, if that's what the best plan was, and it made good policy sense, you crunched it all out and this was the decision. If building a new station was the right thing to do, then I'm all in. That would be the right thing to do.
I'd like to make a comment, please. I think we have to change our mode of thinking. Right now, we're discussing, well, if District 4 wanted to build a station and if District 21 wants to do something like that, we're thinking right now in the form of our District 4 and District 21. We have got to change that. We've got to think of we're one district, we're an RFA, and think about it that way.
That is great. The proposal was a District 4 former person could veto, and
I'm not happy with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think there are.
And I understand that it's wrong.
I think there are ways to draft, as I said earlier, I think there are ways if the group wanted to proceed with the one person from the other district must approve. I think there are ways to draft around the concerns I raised. I just wanted to make sure that we understood it might not be quite as simple as a one sentence. So
I think it's great that we're talking through this because again, that was presented to us by our attorney kind of last minute today as an option. If it was our understanding that District 21 was not open to a 3-on-3 equal representation board. And so that was given as an option. After listening to Commissioner Ansel and to you, Karen, I don't think that's a good option either. It just has, it leaves, it can work either way, and it's kind of dangerous. It's a two-way dangerous street, I think. So,
so Dave, just if we do 3 and 3, who's the tiebreaker?
That's a question we were hoping you would solve. We were all asking that one, and I said Bruce will come up with that.
I'll break the tie then.
I'd probably trust you. I'd trust you to do it. We could, you and I could, or whoever the chair and co-chair could flip for it or something. But no, I don't think that all of this is a process. It has to be done. So when we enter into this full-time marriage, God, bless it, hopefully everything would pass. We've done this. We've asked all the questions. We can hold our head high and talk to our citizens. I really like to believe that we go into our meetings as an RFA regional fire authority board, doubting very often that we probably we might have questions, but we usually would tend to work them out just like our board does now, or probably like your board does now. We're not always all in agreement up front on our board, but as we talk through it and work out solutions together, usually when we see any of us go to vote on something, it's unanimous. And so I don't know if I just know that was a strong concern of our board, equal representation, and I think that it would make us feel much more comfortable, as we would know that that's going to shrink down anyway quite quickly. So I really don't.
I would hate for this issue to destroy the RFA process, because we are.
I'll second that.
Really committed to wanting this thing to move.
It has to work. We need to.
I guess, I would like to hear from maybe someone else on our board, and not to put anyone on the spot, but Rich, do you have anything different to add that I haven't already talked about? And you're on mute, so there you go.
Well, I think I could speak for the other members of the board, that they would be wanting to express clearly that we went into this discussion wanting to improve the service to both districts. And we wanted it to be one district, like Harry so eloquently pointed out. We should be thinking as one district. And I think our board has been somewhat frustrated when we have a clear agreement and there's no no-goes, and then all of a sudden there's a no-go. And we have to go and we have to start over again. And so I'm glad we come to a point now, it appears that there's an agreement, but are there other things that are on the list? I hear 1 and 2. Is there a 3 and 4 today? Is there another no-go coming up? And just how determined are we all to make this work? Because frankly, we tire of the endless discussions that seem to just bog us down. When we all seem to agree that this is a good thing, let's go forward with it.
I'll second that.
So I think one of the questions for today was whether or not either District 4 or District 21 had additional issues that were go, no-go issues that needed to be brought to the table today.
I don't believe that District 4 has any other issues at this time that need to be brought to the table. I can't, as this moves forward as a planning process, you never know what could come up. And I think that we'd be remiss to say, okay, the rest of it's all a go. That's not how these planning or these RFA planning committees usually work. There's usually last minute bugs that are worked out. I don't see anything else that would probably come to the table. I wasn't expecting this one to come to light. So I sure don't see any. I don't know if Commissioner Land or Commissioner Andrews at this time sees of any other, but I sure don't. So
we need to appreciate that. I think since the nature of what you brought forward today is sort of evolved, Dave, from what the email from Mr. Quinn was, I think I need to ask District 21 folks if given the new proposals that Dave has outlined for you today to consider, do you feel that you can respond to those today, or do you need some time as a board to talk about those before proceeding, or do you want to try to? So that's question one. Or do you want to try to go back over the issues and see where you are today as a group?
We want this to work. You got to know that I mean, I lay awake at night thinking of ways to make this thing work. And so when these other concerns come up, Commissioner Hanson, it's like, oh man, where did that come from? And how do we address that? And I guess if that's normal, then
I didn't say it's fun, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to kind of say, look, let's move on and quit throwing bricks at the windshield of the bus as it goes by. But I do want to be thorough, and I do want everyone to be able to go to their constituents and say, we talked about soup to nuts, and we think we uncovered everything that's out there. I can probably say from experience that once this is all done, we'll have thought of something that we should have or could have or maybe would have wanted to do. Although I trust Karen, having been through this process enough times, that she has certainly seen all of the speed bumps along the way. Not that maybe we haven't helped her discover a couple new ones here. I think in fairness, we should probably caucus amongst ourselves. I hate to to say, holy cow, let's waste another few more days and come back again. I mean, we have a meeting planned for the 1st, but I'd like to kind of be able to give an answer today, here and now. And I don't know that I can have that discussion openly with everyone here right now. I need to hear
That's fair.
from our board, and perhaps Mr. Davis would be willing to weigh in with us. So, Chief, I'm not sure how we.
You can go into a breakout room.
Yeah, can we do a breakout room here?
Yes, I can create a breakout room.
So I guess for the sake of procedure, if everyone's okay with that, then we would stop the live feed for now and go to a breakout. I guess would we call this an executive session, Mr. Davis? Because or is this part of our planning committee ability to meet in a sidebar?
So you can convene as a District 21 board separately, but I don't think there's a basis for executive session over this. It sounds to me like the initial issue that was staffing related is not an issue at this time. And so we're dealing with the governance piece. And I think that has to be discussed in open session.
In open session. So we can't sidebar meet and discuss.
The only other basis for an executive session would be potential litigation. And I don't think we're really there. I think we're talking about just a moving forward with a governance structure that is different than what we have written into the draft plan at this point. So I would not advise to go into executive session for that.
All right.
So
here we are.
You gentlemen could talk about it now. You could convene a special meeting tomorrow. It would have to be open public meeting. Or we could reconvene on Thursday to try to resolve that, or you guys can chat now. Sort of
Maybe I could do this, and maybe this will make it a little easier for them. And it's important to remind everybody, this is not Dave Hanson's board. This is Whatcom County Fire District 4's board. This decision, then what we've laid out today, was a decision agreed upon by all 3 individuals. You know, if my other 2 colleagues have chosen to go a different direction, then I'm pretty much going to support the direction they go. And I'll just ask if Commissioner Land and Commissioner Andrews, if you are set on staying with the recommendation of equal representation on the board, then I think right now is the time to make sure that we let everybody know that.
Yeah. So yeah, good idea to just, you know, ensure that we still have a consensus on that email that was sent on our board's behalf. And speaking for myself, I would say yes. I would say that that's still a position I would support. That how the 3 votes and 3 votes on either side, at least our proposal, how that language is actually crafted, when it's triggered, you know, I guess I would rely on consensus from the other board and of course legal advice. But yeah, at this point, I guess I would say that, yeah, I get that it's a change, and you know, you guys had hammered this governance out issue before, and yes, it's unfortunate that we have to now talk about it again, but you know, making sausage isn't always pretty, and you have to, you know, work at it and keep talking about it. So I guess people change their minds, new information comes out. So, you know, unfortunately, you've got governance in front of you again. So be that as it may, if you guys have an alternative, you know, I'd love to hear it too. But again, I would end the conversation. I would end my input with saying, what would be wrong with having equal or parity when it comes to opinion on governance and policy? What would be wrong with that? And I think that's what it comes down to with me.
Thank you, Mark. Harry?
Oh, I have no comment. I'm looking at the calendar and I'm seeing that we're getting close to a time we have to make a move. And we're talking this to death.
Yep.
We ought to start moving forward and just go from there.
Okay.
So I'm certainly not opposed to equal representation. I again thought we had decided that 5 and 3 was okay. It's not that we can't revisit it. It just then comes down to what are we comfortable with as a tiebreaker. We have never had a need in the time that I've been on the board for 5 years to have some sort of contentious vote. We've typically only had one commissioner who voted opposite on many occasions for whatever reason, but on a 5-member board, that's not a big deal. But when you have 3 and 3, and I don't anticipate there ever being an issue to where we're that divided. I hope we never come to that, but it can happen. And if we don't plan for it now, then we're going to be in a big mess when that happens. So I guess.
Would it have to be that the tiebreaker would have to, I mean, it would only be for a short period until we got down to that
right.
five
Right.
Would the fire chief be a position that could be that if there were ever to that situation? It's a terrible position to put a fire chief in. I don't know that that's very fair. Maybe you know, our attorney or Karen, but I would even say if you were the board chair, give the board chair the tiebreaker. That's just not I doubt that we would ever get 6 or 3 to 3 because we've obviously went wrong with the whole system if that happened. Right. You know, if we've got that little, you know, the trust issues are small. They're old. They were from the past, and the past has got to be gone. I accept that.
Hey, Dave, not to cut you off, but Rick,
go ahead.
Davis, being the legal authority here, could you help us with this one?
Right. Well, you wouldn't necessarily need a tiebreaker. First of all, the chief, of course, couldn't, because the members of the governing board have to be elected officials of the participating jurisdictions or directly elected officials from the voters within the RFA. So that would not work. But you don't need a tiebreaker. I mean, you bring a motion, a resolution up for vote, and if it's 3 to 3, it fails.
Yeah.
What happens? You just, you know, there are going to be some votes perhaps that achieve a 3 to 3 vote and then doesn't pass.
Yeah. I see. And then we would just come back at it a different angle where we could try to work it out with everybody.
Yeah, that would then just force coming a compromise, or, you know, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the beauty of governing, is if, you know, you don't agree, then you just keep working until you find
agree to disagree.
The best option.
I think Commissioner Land said it best, or maybe I should reiterate before I say you said it best. Talked about Commissioner Land, it being in cases of governance and policy. So, you know, are those the two things where, you know, we would want this equally yoked or this equal ability to, whether you call it veto or line item veto, you know, is it just in governance and policy. And
I think that's the only place that it pertains, really, that it should be.
Or is it, I think we're past the dates of, if the district's trying to surplus a piece of equipment and, well, that was my old fire engine and I don't want to.
I want it.
I mean, right. We're way past all those kind of things. So I think we're down to, and currently, like in District 21, currently the board, because of the number of policies that need to be redone, the board has given the fire chief the ability to sign off on any policy that does not cause financial impact to the district.
That's right.
So we're looking at, as opposed to me putting, 10 policies a month in front of the board, you're looking at 10 to 20 policies that might actually financially impact the district.
Yeah.
Which is going to go through legal review and before it ever gets to you as the board. And if it doesn't pass, then maybe I need to do a little bit more legwork with the individual commissioners to explain what I'm putting in front of you.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't want to have anything to do with the day-to-day operations of the regional fire authority.
Or do I?
I mean, I want to just give you the tools and the support that you need to do your job, that's consistent with the board's guidelines and priorities that we set. And that's the way it should be.
Yes.
I agree.
I agree.
Rich Bosman.
Well, to change it now, to me, seems inappropriate. We'd already discussed this. It had been agreed upon. And now all of a sudden we come up with another discussion, 2 or 3 hours. We don't even know how we're going to implement it. We're trying to decide how to implement something that's a change from what we'd agreed on before. And I could see the members of our board saying, what would be the next one that comes up? I mean, we've been down this road before. And how much time do you want to spend in the weeds? This had been decided in a very appropriate way, and everyone agreed. So I think our board would be a little frustrated with this.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Scott.
When negotiating when you agree on something, you TA it, everybody agrees, and that's pretty much set in stone. Should we have been doing that all along, or should we be doing it now? So
we've had a change in, we've had 2 different commissioners change positions here. So we brought, starting with Mark Chamberlain, and now we've got Mark Land on board. So it brings a different perspective to the show.
Richard Davis, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and it's helpful if you, as you move through the process, of course, to kind of take issues off the table, just like you're negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. But there is nothing that prevents, issues from being brought up again to have a different perspective on it until the final RFA plan is voted upon by the planning committee. Either participating jurisdiction is free to bring issues back to the table that they've been kind of tentatively agreed to in the past.
So Rich, I understand your frustration. If I was on your side of the table, I would be frustrated as well. I guess my only response to that is sometimes it takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work to get the product that finally is the best product that everybody can agree on.
I don't have any problem with that. I'm looking at the calendar and I'm thinking, here we took 2 hours on this issue. What's going to be the next issue? There's no way we're going to make it this year.
Do you think we should extend out to next year?
At this piece.
Well, that's certainly an option.
I sure don't want to.
I don't either, but I think we're
I think we're right there. We're just there. We just have to come into agreement on this one little you know, sticking point, and
But there's always another sticking point.
and there could be, Scott, you're correct. There could be. We hope not.
We still have to,
We're in the union negotiations.
we still need to resolve the starting levy rate, confirm the transfer of assets, confirm the organization chart, and everything associated with the operations and finance and facilities sections of the RFA plan. Those could go very quickly and smoothly, or not.
Yeah, on it, for my 2 bits on that, I mean, I certainly can't promise or give any sort of assurances that I won't have questions in the future as we work through these last items that Karen just enumerated. But I can't foresee any kind of a major hiccup that I would have on any of that. It seems like it would be pretty straightforward. The way I was looking at this, this is clearly the big one for me, and I think the other stuff would fall into place pretty quickly.
I agree.
I agree.
Well, can I say something else? I feel like this is an issue that District 21 is going to have to, the board is going to have to really fully consider, because essentially 2 members of the District 21 board will be disenfranchised from participating in the RFA planning committee. It also is, an interesting idea that, I've been involved in a number of RFA planning processes. And the last one that Karen and I were involved in particular down in Snohomish County, had a situation where Snow 1, who had 5 members on the board, and City of Linwood, so they transferred over, and then City of Linwood had 2. But there was a level of, mutual trust and on behalf of both parties that I find to be essential in these. And where RFA planning processes have broken down in the past, there haven't been that level of trust. It's been this fight over governance, governing board. And so I do feel like District 21 probably needs to meet with its full board and decide. I mean, if you were to agree to this, how would the 3 members be selected? Who would be kind of disenfranchised from participating on the RFA planning committee? So that it's going to at least require a meeting, I think, to work through that.
Yeah, I guess I would ask you guys, if we were going to go to a 2-and-2 board, how would you vote the person off the island?
It'd be easy on our side. I'd go.
I brought my old boat.
Rich, do you think that if assuming that you could fix I think you could address a glitch around the veto power and the not showing up, would you recommend that the 21 board consider that as an alternative to the 3-and-3? Sort of the statement that says in the transition board, 1 person from both sides, as long as it's not
It's not a legal issue. It's up to the governing board.
It's a policy issue.
Yeah, I think if you were asked my opinion, I think there are significant policy reasons not to do that. I think that is going to lead, not going to, but could potentially lead. What you're trying to do when you bring 2 organizations together is make them a cohesive organization where the board works together. And when you have an issue that's contentious, you want to persuade the people that are against it to vote in favor. And it's a matter of persuasion. It's not, District 21 commissioners versus District 4 commissioners. They want the discussion to be persuasive. And so I'm not a big proponent of a veto, just like you, for the reasons you gave earlier.
If you could structure it so that it would never be a veto, it may be more plausible, but I don't know. Okay, so District 21 folks, would you like to take Rich's suggestion and try to convene before Thursday morning, and then we could regroup as the planning committee or a joint board, whichever you prefer, on Thursday at 10, which we should be on everyone's calendars preliminarily?
Yeah, I think I mean, in all fairness to the two commissioners that are being voted out, I mean, we would have to then develop some sort of procedure policy to choose who doesn't get to participate, and yeah, that's another topic that we'll have to give some thought to and work on.
Yeah.
And I wish, I guess, in retrospect, that this discussion would have happened when we were talking about governance, but it didn't. And that frustrates me, but I understand that we can expect a bunch more changes before this thing's over, if we continue as we have in this past 8 months. So
I actually think if you were to ask us on those other issues today, there wouldn't be any further. I think that we're good with everything else in the draft plan, with the exception, including how properties and assets transfer, funds transfer. I think that's just all standard of how that normally works, unless a district wants to hang on to some, to keep it, become a stay district and hold on to a training center or something. And believe me, we don't. But I don't see that there are any other issues. I think if we can, and we can come up with something that satisfies everybody, some way to do that, I think everybody would be good. I'm starting to think I kind of hear Karen maybe talk, when she's talking about not maybe having that veto power and calling it veto power, but maybe that right to raise that flag, where it's a courtesy flag, where we agree to table a motion or a discussion, giving it a little bit more thought or research, where it's a little bit more time for the other part of the board to convince, to convince the other naysayers or whatever it may be, of why the resolution or the motion is pertinent to our survival. I sure don't like that idea of thinking that any one of us could have the veto power. We're not the president of the United States or in Congress. So I'm just not sure how that could be worded and how that could be put where everybody was comfortable. But I think that Harry and I believe Mark and I are open to any type of thought process, idea that where we can still feel we have that ability to go to our citizens. I just don't know how we do it. I just 3 and 3 is the only way I can see it, where it's done in some form of equal representation.
Fair enough. Karen, any last words before we slide out of here?
Well, this is hard, and the progress isn't always linear. It gets disappointing when you have to go back and redo stuff, but it does happen. I think there's a lot of reason for you guys to keep at it for a bit, and it can't be forever because we're going to run out of runway. We've got to go back out to the public and talk about where you are on these issues in the last half of April before you take action on the plan, which needs to be done by the middle of May to keep with this timeline. I mean, I think there may be some tweaks on either the current proposal that would allow a break in reconsideration if the District 4, if you had the 5 and 3 and the 3 from District 4 were all unanimously opposed to it, you could then take a break and try to adjust and come back and have at least one go around at that. I can conceivably that. I can see, or maybe you just go to the 3 and 3 and hope for the best. I think though you're gonna, depending on if you are going to be redoing all of your policies and procedures and all of any new job description, I think there is a potential for some conflict in that initial year, of course, and that's okay. Life is full of conflict, but there will be some challenging startup issues you may be working through in that first year and a half. So I was glad to hear what Dave had to say about the rest of the plan, but I understand that that may change when we get into it. And I will do whatever I can to help you guys get the information you need if you want to stay on this calendar. And we'll just need a little bit more time with you than we have calendared so far. And I appreciate that this is a hard discussion, and I appreciate everybody coming to the table with a hope that we could make it work.
Is there any input from labor while they've been here the whole meeting?
And here comes Ken.
Thank you. I'm going to just choose to yield my time at this point and see what happens on Thursday.
Okay, so the plan for Thursday is that District 21 will have met and that we will try to come in and see. So as I understand it, then that I think we will want to confirm both of the sets of issues, but both sides are okay with the idea that job descriptions and educational requirements for vacant positions would need to be approved by the board, and that they would be subject to an outside assessment center process for the positions of the HR director and the finance director. But that no one is suggesting that the chief is not the person to make the final selection of the candidate for those jobs. And then the second question is really looking at having the interim board or transition board, whichever you want to call it, that initial board that would step up starting October 1st. What is the composition of that board or the rules associated with it that could address the concern about representation on that board not being identical as between District 21 and District 4. And we will try to get those through. And then we will, if I've been able to get some download from Mr. Quinn, we can bring forward the next, we'll talk with the levy rate. That will be the other thing on the calendar then. And then we'll have just the remaining sections of the plan to work through.
I think our board just, levy rate's going to be a big issue. Everything I've read and looked at and analyzed says we need to be at $1.45. Is that going to be a contentious issue for you guys, or are you on board with that and we should be able to power through that?
I think Heather put that so clearly to us that we're going to squabble over whether it's for $1.40 or $1.45. We're going out right now. We're going to the well. I think we need to stay with that number. That's the number that plays out for the 7-year plan, and we'd be remiss not to support that.
Yeah, I can get behind that and do whatever I can to pitch that in the future, whatever it would take.
Harry, did you want to opine? You've obviously expressed some concern about this.
No, I'm fine with that, but I was one of the $1.40 advocates. But one other thing I'd like to say, I think we ought to eliminate the use of the word veto. And if we have equal boards and a problem comes up, let's replace it with negotiate.
Fair enough, Harry. You're always the wise one in the crowd.
We are over time, so if we're going to continue, we should probably extend the meeting on both sides of the table, or we should adjourn and reconvene on as a planning committee.
I think we should adjourn and let District 21 and their group discuss, what we've talked about. I'd also like to, Commissioner Ansel and I have worked out some things in rooms before, and probably we should have got together before this. But I'll make contact with you as well, Commissioner Ansel, and see what we can talk about, what we can come up with.
My final question is, should this meeting on Thursday be a planning committee meeting or another joint board meeting?
Well, planning, we'll have our 3 representatives there,
Okay.
not 5. And we'll have an answer.
Okay, we'll calendar that. We'll confirm that agenda and packet for you shortly. Thank you all very much for a tough meeting, but a straight up discussion, and that's what we needed to happen today. So thank you all very much.
So a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All
Whoever.
in favor?
All right.
All right.